Baldwins Lane, Hall Green. In the 1990s, a former work friend, Adam, rented a house on Baldwins Lane in Hall Green, Birmingham, with his friend Rick. The house was a large 3-bed semi-detached house, which was perfect for him and his dog Bruno, a golden retriever. Adam had known Rick since school, and they were good friends. Adam was the main tenant, with Rick renting a room from him and paying a contribution for food and utility bills. The location was good for Adam's work, and he knew the area really well, as he had grown up on the adjoining Scribers Lane. In fact, his parents were still there, so he could visit any time, and they could pop in to feed the dog when he was at work. On moving-in day, Adam and his friend Rick had hired a van and moved all of the furniture in themselves. The last thing that Adam needed to do was pick up Bruno from his parents' house around the corner and walk him round. As he walked his dog along the garden path to his new home, Adam realized that Bruno was pulling against his lead, seemingly reluctant to approach the house. Adam gently persuaded the dog in and gave him a reassuring pat before the dog slipped under the kitchen table and lay down. Rick could be heard banging around upstairs, sorting out his furniture. Adam called up to him, offering a hot drink as Adam was putting the kettle on. Due to the banging around and shuffling of furniture, Rick did not respond, so Adam assumed he was busy and left him to it. Eventually, Adam fell into an armchair in the living room and dropped his feet onto one of the remaining boxes full of personal belongings. As he sipped his coffee and relaxed back into the chair, the noises coming from the upstairs reduced, before soon stopping altogether. Adam finished his coffee, thinking about what he could have for his tea, when he heard a rattling noise coming from the front door. Wondering what the noise was, he jumped to his feet and entered the hallway, approaching the front door just as his housemaid Rick was coming into the house. Rick was holding a large brown paper package under his arm and mentioned he had picked up fish and chips for them both. As he passed Adam, he dropped the package of food onto the kitchen worktop. Adam stared as Rick continued to search through the kitchen drawers, looking for cutlery. Eventually he noticed Adam's stare and queried what was wrong. Adam informed his friend that he had heard somebody banging around upstairs and presumed it had been Rick, and was now wondering who had been up there. Both men ran up the stairs and began to look through each of the rooms. Nothing had seemed out of place from how they had both left them, and it actually occurred to Adam that the fairly lightweight furniture would not really have caused the amount of noise he had heard. This was one of many strange occurrences that both Adam and Rick experienced in the home. The dog seemed so distressed in the property and constantly whimpered and growled that he moved permanently to Adam's parents' house, where he settled to his normal self immediately. Bumps and sounds of furniture scrapings were heard at all times of the day and night by both Adam and Rick. One day, about 6 weeks after moving in, Adam had already left for work for the day, and Rick was about to do the same. He left the house and walked a short distance before he got on a bus at the end of the road. Rick took a seat on the upper deck before looking out of the window. As he looked out, the bus was passing his house, and Rick stared across at the property. He was horrified when he saw an old, white-haired man wearing dark glasses staring out of his bedroom window at him. The old man's gaze was fixed on Rick's and followed him as the bus passed the house. Rick ran down to the bus driver and asked him to stop the bus. Luckily, the driver did, and Rick ran back to the property. The old man was nowhere to be seen, both from outside and inside the house. Equally, there was no sign of any entry or disturbance. After months of unusual happenings and disturbing occurrences, Rick moved out, which caused a bit of bad feeling between the friends, as Adam was left to cover the living costs alone, and he felt worried about being in the house alone. After managing to get to the agreed 6 months on the rental contract, the noises and unusual happenings had continued, so Adam did not renew the lease and moved back in with his parents. Some time passed, and Rick and Adam reacquainted and began to socialize again. One evening they met up at Adam's parents' house on Scribers Lane with plans to walk to the local Baldwins pub. As they walked, they reminisced about the strange happenings that had occurred at the house on Baldwins Lane. As they did, they realized they had been passing the house and were standing on the opposite side of the road from the house. They could see a letting agent sign in the garden, and Adam remarked that it always seemed up for rent, and no one seemed to stay there for very long. As they continued to look, both men simultaneously noticed someone watching them from the upstairs bedroom window. It was the same old man with white hair wearing the glasses that Rick had seen, looking right at them. Both men ran to the pub and actually laughed about it after, but neither of them would look at the house again and tried to avoid passing it when they could.